Hi everyone, welcome to the Sporting Life and Time Form Saturday Racing Preview. It is quite a Saturday as we go between festivals, but we've got good action from Sandown and Beverley, and I'm joined by Andy McLaren from Time Form and Matt Brocklebank from Sporting Life to discuss the action and try and find a few winners. Welcome along, gents. We are going to talk about the Sky Bet Solario Stakes first, the 3:35 at Sandown, a really good race for juveniles, a good race that has found some good horses in the past. We'll talk about those, I'm sure, over the next few minutes. But Andy, we've got Field of Gold, top of the shop on Time Form ratings on 110p, and he's just £1 clear. It looks a tight race.
Yeah, a race all about potential, isn't it, Scoop? You've got majority of the field here still have the Time Form Ps attached to the ratings, signifying they've still got potential. Field of Gold, as you say, top of the shop there on 110p. You've got Maturi Bait and Royal Playwright not far behind. They've only had the one run. You'd expect them to come forward significantly for that experience. That trio that we've just mentioned there, they all hold Group 1 entries further down the line, so you'd think they all have bright futures. Tiger Mask is the one with a bit more experience under his belt. He comes here with it's his fifth run, and there's a good chance he'll try and make use of that experience and go from the front and see if he can put them to the sword. But yeah, looks a good race, a lot of potential on show, and hopefully a future star in the making.
Let's have a look at the first video clue, gents, because we've got Field of Gold winning at Newmarket. Here's the grey horse in the Juddmonte Silks for the Gosdens, who've got a good record in the Solario Stakes.
Yeah, you were just looking before, Matt. How many times have the Gosdens won this race again? Was it
six times altogether? Yeah, 6 times. And obviously with Kingman, the sire of this horse here, Field of Gold, he was dead impressive this day. And a couple of subsequent winners out of this, Andy, as well.
Yeah, the second and third haven't run since, but the fourth has. He came out and won at Ascot on his next start. It's hard not to be impressed by this, wasn't it? He travelled really strongly under Kieran Schumacher, picked up well when he asked him. He did drift to his right a bit towards the finish, maybe just a bit of a sign of inexperience there, but the visual performance was very much backed up by the clock too. He clocked a 110 time figure there, which is a very good number for a horse just having his second start. Yeah,
like you say, second run, and he'd come on significantly from his debut. So
he's quite a hot race, his debut as well. He finished second behind a third behind a horse of Andrew Baldwin's called New Century, who's won a listed race since.
Yeah, you can completely understand why he is top of the ratings and top of the market. He perhaps is the one to beat, but there are a couple of others, a couple of once raced horses who are just behind him in the market and in the ratings as well. And we're going to have a look at one of those now, Matt. Royal Playwright in the Jeff Smith Silks, purple and light blue, for those who don't know. Winning here at Salisbury, and this was a fantastic effort first time out.
Yeah, and the latest really promising horse out of Arabian Queen. Obviously, the family that they know so well, the Baldings, and the ownership. Obviously, he's bred to be very good. This one's by Lope de Vega. He's obviously in the right hands, as we say. What I loved most about this performance was just how much I thought he would learn from it. When we spoke about, obviously, Field of Gold, he has had the 2 runs. And these guys, these other 2, the Beckett horse as well, they're not far behind already, having just had the 1 run. But not everything went right for him this day at Salisbury. He kind of jumped the path as well fairly early on. Hurdled it beautifully, actually, didn't he, Andy? Yeah, we were watching that this morning. He looked a little bit clueless when initially hitting the front, pricked his ears, but really did travel stylishly. He picked up very well. And he completed the job in a really good time that day. He's impressed the clock watchers at Salisbury in a race, don't forget, won by some good horses over the years, that novice at Salisbury. Pile Driver and subsequent vintage winner as well. Name escapes me of that one. But yeah, this is a really promising horse. He could have run somewhere else. He could have run under a penalty, but fairly significant, I think, that they've decided to come straight here. It was a similar story with See the Light, wasn't it, last year? The half-sister who we saw recently, obviously winning the group race at York. She won first time out and then went straight into the Mayhill or something. It was a Group 2 at Doncaster. So obviously thinking big with this horse, and he's in the Royal Lodge and the Dewhurst, and he looks the business. He looks the part to me. I like him.
It's a race. I think Baldwin likes to target this race for some of his better horses, doesn't he? He's won it a few times before, and Kamako came second in it a couple of years ago. So I think it's significant that this is the horse he relies on in this race. I think New Century, that horse I mentioned earlier, by Kamako, was in this race at the entries. And I do think it is significant that Baldwin's relying on him.
He will have had a few to pick from, like you say, and we know Royal Playwright, he's had the 1 run. Andrew Baldwin's famous for having his juveniles progress significantly from first to second start. So a massive player, Royal Playwright. Let's have a look at how this might pan out, chaps, because it's a small field, but we've got the pace map up there. You can ignore stall 4 and Outlaws Grace. He's a non-runner. But where do you think the pace is going to come from, and how could this pan out tactically?
Well, hopefully, I'm hoping, like as ever, you get a good even gallop in a race like this, a group race, but it's not always the same. It's never that simple as it's certainly at Sandown. And I think, there's a reasonable run, what we're looking at, like a furlong and a half from the start to that first turn, but it's a sharp enough bend, and I don't think you want to be kind of wide. You don't want to be held on too far. I think Andy's nailed it with the Burke horse probably going to make the run in. He got across and bagged the rail at Ascot 2 starts ago, didn't he? Yeah. He's an interesting player because he sets a fairly decent sort of benchmark in terms of like he's going to run his race. He ran okay again. This is Tiger Mask. He ran okay again at Goodwood last time, but it was just a bit outpaced, I think. And he's not a superstar. If there is a star in here, it's probably going to be Field of Gold or one of these other two. I'm struggling to find anything at kind of a bigger price that you can really make a case for here. But you'd like to think it'd be a good even gallop. It can get tactical at Sandown. And we mentioned Kamiko. Oisin Murphy, you spoke to him in midweek scoop, and he's still beating himself up over getting beat on Kamiko in the race. I'm not totally sure how it happened, but he was still a bit raw and a bit green then. And it can happen. We're dealing with young colts here at an early stage of their development. I think the really important thing, just going back to this race in general, is that it's an important one for the Gosdens, isn't it? And it's an important one for Balding and for Beckett as well, because let's not forget, this is a home Group 2 where you don't get Aidan O'Brien coming over for this race. It's very much they try and sort of look after their better long-term prospects by going for this race rather than exposing them necessarily in against some of the best of the Irish at this stage. So really important in these horses' development. And you'd love to see a good even gallop, but it's going to be in the lap of the gods in some sort of cases when it comes to the tactics of a race like this.
Yeah, experience can be vital in the Solario. I was looking through the last 28 renewals. 8 of the winners had 1 run. 20 had 2 or more runs. Yeah. So experience, at this time of year with these 2-year-olds, it can be a vital asset. And Tiger Mask with 4 runs under his belt, that could be something in his favour.
Field of Gold wasn't far off the pace when he won at Newmarket. Obviously, he was very sluggish on debut, wasn't he, as you said? But second time out, they had him fairly handy, and he kicked kind of 2 furlongs out. And if you do that at Sandown, you can be hard to pay back.
Okay, selection time. What do we fancy in the Solario, gents?
I'm with the Beckett horse, Maturi Bay. He was slowly away on debut, but he did really well, I thought, to overcome that slow start and win pretty cosily in the end against some fellow well-bred newcomers. The second from that race has came out and run a really big race in the Hot Maiden at York since. I think the form looks strong. And the thing that really took me with him in that performance at Salisbury, was it Salisbury, sorry? Leicester, yeah. The thing that really took me at that performance was right at the end, he just changed his legs and showed another late burst of speed there. And I just got the impression he was only just getting going at the line. I think that he had absolutely loads left in the tank. I'm expecting him to come on significantly for that, obviously, with it just being his first run. And yeah, he was a bit, like I say, he was a bit slowly away, but as long as he can break a bit sharper from the stalls this time, I think he is, if not the best long-term prospect, he's definitely one of them. And I think it was between him and the Balding horse for me, but I just sided with the Beckett horse. It was like I say, it was just the way he finished his race last time, where he just changed his legs. Looked like he had absolutely loads left in the tank. I think I'm quite excited about him. I think he's very interested in what's a very open but interesting race. I think it's a good race. It looks like their top 3 at the top of the market in particular. I think are some 3 really good long-term prospects.
Maturi Bay for Andy. Matt?
Yeah, I will mention just one that we haven't touched on, Richard Hughes' horse, Hot Shot. Now, he's another out of by a Solario winning sire, obviously 2 down Hot. He's just still a bit raw and a bit backward, I think. Could be a really nice horse as a 3-year-old. But he improved for the debut. And the debut run, it was Wimbledon Hawkeye, wasn't it? He was in behind that one, who's since come out and split 2 absolute stars potentially in the Acomb Stakes at York. So the debut run was good. Then he won. He dead heated for first in the maiden at Glorious Goodwood, and he just looks like he's sitting on a fair amount of potential. Like I say, I think he's a bit raw and a bit backward to win a race of this nature, but I could see him going quite well. Interesting, obviously, that Richard Hughes looks to pitch him in at this level. But I'm with Royal Playwright. We might end up with 3 different selections here across the panel, mightn't we? Because I think he looked the real deal, this horse, on debut. Hayley Turner gave him a really fantastic ride. I think he'll have learnt bundles for it. 49 days on from that debut, I'm really excited to see what he's capable of. So, yeah, I'm with Balding Horse here. Andrew could have run several in this, I suspect, and it looks significant. I think he might be their best 2-year-old long term.
No, I'm torn between Field of Gold and Royal Playwright, but
there might not be much in it in the market coming
yeah,
off. It's very
I think
strong
the
in the
Balding
betting,
Horse could well go off favourite if the support continues. But intriguing race, the Solario Stakes. We'll move on to the William Hill Beverley Bullet now at 2:05, obviously at Beverley. A cracking little conditions race, good listed race here, and Comanche Falls is top of the ratings, Matt. On 125 after a good run in defeat off a mark of 107 in a York handicap just last week.
Yes, there's not much in this. Looking at the ratings again, this Comanche Falls, he's just such a likeable sprinter, isn't he? He's won a couple of Stewards Cups when coming up through the ranks as a slightly younger horse. Last year, he won a couple of listed races and a Group 3. That was the Hackwood at Newbury. This is very much his level. And while he hasn't won this season, has he? But he does look in pretty decent form, as you say, after that York run. He was actually giving the progressive 3-year-old winner £16 on that occasion. And
it's a massive run.
Richard Fye's horse, runner-up, Strike Red, he was giving him a stone as well. So, like, on a level playing field, Comanche Falls is the best horse in that race by a fair margin, isn't he? And he gets that here. He's actually getting weight off one of them at the top. So I like him. He's very likeable. You know what you're going to get. I suspect this kind of race has been his target all along. Big issue with me with Comanche Falls is that is he a 5 furlong horse? He's not from one. He's only ever tried it once, and he was set to believing. It wasn't a bad run, but he was staying on at the finish of that.
The stiff track is in his favour, but it is. I'm backing Comanche Falls, and it is the one thing that's on my mind.
He could be a fast finishing second for me, but the problem you're looking around in this race. There's a bunch of hold-up horses, aren't there? And maybe only one front runner, which leads us on, I think, to the second horse we're going to see.
Democracy Dilemma. He is another one who was beaten at York last week, but again, Andy, it was a really good run, and we've got video of this.
It was a brilliant run, I was with him this day. He's run really well here off a mark of 104. He, like you were similar to Comanche Falls, he was given over a stone to the winner and the third here.
Far side there, pink, green silks.
Was a bit of a draw bias at York this week, so maybe he was a bit favoured by being drawn in the low stalls, but we ran a really good race. This was over a bit of an extended 5 furlongs. I think it was 5 furlongs and 89 yards was the official distance.
He's been nitpicking. I like that.
He's still in front with about 100 yards to go, so I think this drop back to a bare 5 furlongs is going to suit him. It is a bit of an uphill finish at Beverley, like you say, Scoop, but I think that drop back to a bare 5 furlongs is going to suit him, and as you mentioned, Matt, I can't see anything taking him on for the lead in this race. So he's got quite a nice low draw as well. See him getting out, bagging the rail and trying to make a call, and he's going to put up a really bold show from the front.
I like Tom Eaves as well. He doesn't ride too many for Robert Cowell, but he's a positive booking, I think. Obviously, probably knows Beverley better than most of these jockeys, and has had 800 and odd rides there before. He's actually won this on a similar kind of point and shoot horse in Tangerine Trees many years ago now, but I quite like that booking. The one thing I was going to ask you, Andy, is what about him on drying ground? A decent weather this weekend. He's got a fair amount of winning form on softer ground, doesn't he? That would be my only
dilemma.
Point. Yeah.
I've got no concerns about that. I think he's absolutely rapid. I think he'll be well suited by fast service. It was quick ground at York there. I've got no concerns about that at all with him.
I think you've talked me into it.
A couple of 3-year-olds to look at, Matt. We're going to look at one of them, Blue Storm, who won for value bet at Epsom earlier in the season. Talk us through this, and he's obviously run really well against us at Royal Ascot.
Yeah, well, I'd much rather watch this again than maybe like Tamfana or something from the Guinea Scoop, which we could easily have trotted out this weekend. But yeah, he's buried away towards the stand side initially in the green with the black cap, just switching now out towards the centre. He came with a fantastic late run. Now, these horses in front, certainly not the ones that were initially in front, they're weakening at this stage, and he's quickening, and that's the sign of a progressive sprinter, I think, and he was given a fantastic ride this day. Now, he's almost doubled up. He's almost followed it up in the Palace of Holyrood House off a higher mark at Royal Ascot. He's evidently progressive. He is open to further improvement, but this improvement that he's shown this season has come in big field handicaps where they go a gallop and the front runners are slowing later on in the race, and I just don't see that unfolding in this race. And Timeform have got him bottom rated in this race, and that's not a sort of suggestion that he's not up to that. I think he's kind of up to winning at this kind of level at some stage, but you need the scenario to play out to be seen to best effect if you're a sprinter over 5 furlongs, and I just don't think he's going to have that race run to suit.
Yeah, let's have a look at the potential scenario then. We'll get the pace map on screen, and you will see it confirmed that Democracy Dilemma looks the most likely to take them along. Emiratiana as well should be up there.
Are you hoping Comanche Falls just sits a fraction handier than he has done occasionally?
It's okay. Mid-division, 3rd or 4th, that'd be absolutely perfect. Get a toe into the race, and then hopefully his 6 furlong prowess kicks in. I mean, his half-brother, Dakota Gold, very similar sort of horse, mainly campaigned over 6 furlongs, won this race 4 years ago. And it could just be that everything aligns for him. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
It's okay wanting him to sit closer at the pace, but it's if he can.
Yeah,
the problem. I mean,
I completely agree.
He's not always been the strongest traveller through his races, and
he can be off the bridle early
in these like well-run races over 6 furlongs is what he wants. So I like you say, I can see him being a stain on second or third, but I think he's going to need them to go really hard in front to come back at them, and I'm not sure whether that's going to happen.
Okay, I think we know what we're all going for, but let's just confirm selections.
Yeah, the race revolves around Democracy Dilemma for me. It's all about, we know what he's going to do. He's going to blast out in front, and it's all about, can he hold on or will he come back to them? I think the drop back to a bare 5 furlongs is going to be in his favour from last time. And we had a look at the weather forecast earlier. It's not the strongest, but there is a bit of a tailwind there at Beverley on Saturday. So I'm hoping that's just enough to help Democracy Dilemma hold on from the front.
Nitpicking and fine details. I like this from Andy McLaren. Matt?
Makes a change, doesn't it? It's got the wind direction. Good to Firm is the only nag I've got with Democracy Dilemma. I just thought maybe on softer ground he'd be like really hard to reel in. I do also maybe just fear this Emiratiana as well. And he's a horse that's been around the block, and we've tipped him on countless occasions, haven't we, Scoot, over the years. He's an 8-year-old now, and he's in the
Jamie Osborne now.
Yeah, latter stages of career, but he was a real top-class horse in his day. So, yeah, it's sadly, it's not a betting race, I don't think, for me, given that Democracy Dilemma is sort of short enough in the market, but he would be my token vote.
OK, looking forward to the Beverley Bullet. Quickly, gents, let's just wrap it all up with a best bet from elsewhere. Have you got one for us, Matt?
I'm going to back Accidental Agent. I think so, yeah.
Another old boy.
Yeah, another old boy, yeah. Yeah, he's one of them. I think his last win was April 2022, if that sounds about right. But if you go back to just last year, off a £10 higher mark, he was 5th in the Bunbury Cup. Look, this is a horse. He was one of Queen Anne back in the day. And, every horse has his price and every horse has his official rating, and they come down far enough. They're worth a look. And I think that run, he's only had the one run so far this season, so he's obviously had niggles and stuff, but Eve Johnson-Horton, she wants a medal, doesn't she, for keeping this horse in training and keeping him sweet. It looked like he'd gone at the game at one stage, but I think he's on a really good mark. He seems to be getting on with Mia Nichols as well. It was quite a promising comeback run, and he's going to get a gallop to chase on fast ground over a stiff mile, so he's got his scenario, as we keep saying, this weekend. He's double figure price.
Looks good race there at Sandown. Andy, have you got one for us?
Same trainer, Eve Johnson-Horton, opposite end of the age spectrum. I'm interested in Mr. Sketch, the 3-year-old, in the 5 o'clock 6 furlong handicap at Chester. Remember, this is the horse who, I think it was in August last year, won by 9.5 lengths at Salisbury and was pitched into the Mill Reef after that, where he ran a really good race to finish second. He had the likes of Hartem behind him that day. It was a really good bit of form. Came back this season in the Greenham, where he finished 6th, but he was a bit better than that. He was a bit short of room and didn't get a clear run at things, and then even just two runs back, he was 3rd back at Salisbury behind Rakia, who she won the Group 3 at Goodwood on her next start with some help from the stewards. Now, he was disappointing last time in his handicap debut at Goodwood, but he got a pretty rubbish trip round there from a wide draw. He was 2-3 over 7 furlongs to get home. Been given a bit of a break since. He's been gelded. I just think he's got a nice draw at Chester in stall 2. There's plenty of pace in the race for him to follow, drawn to his outside, so I can just see him getting a nice pitch on the rail with the pace coming in front of him, and I'm expecting a much better run from him now. Now he's been gelded, dropping back to 6 furlongs and with a good draw at Chester. We've got no prices yet because it's not an ITV race, recording on Friday afternoon, but I'm expecting him to be a double-figure price. I think he'll be a decent bet. I'm expecting a much better performance than last time from him.
Great stuff, Mr. Sketch for Andy. Hopefully it's a good day for Eve Johnson-Houghton. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy Saturday's action, and we'll see you again next week.